Welcome to a bad recap of Finding Nemo, a movie about... there he is! I found him! So, what do I win? The movie starts with Marlin and his wife, who have just moved into a new house at the drop-off, right next to the open ocean. The perfect location to raise children.
They'll wake up, poke their little heads out, and they see...
Speaking of children, there's over 400 of them. Marlin, you dirty dog. And they're all being stored in a cave under the house. Well, at least the neighbors seem nice.
What are you doing?
Me? Just hanging around.
Marlin tries to fight off the barracuda, but he's a clownfish, so just gets drop-kicked into a rock. When he wakes up, he discovers his wife has left and taken the kids to the afterlife, leaving just one damaged egg behind, which Marlin names Nemo. 6 years later, Nemo has grown up with a deformed right fin from the incident. Shout out characters with asymmetrical deformities, gotta be one of my favourite genders. Marlin is super overprotective after having his entire bloodline massacred, but is finally letting Nemo go to school. I mean, it should be safe, they're not in America. He first shows his son how to edge their anemone, and then swims him to school. He meets some of the other parents who are like, "Hey, you're a clownfish. Gosh, you must be funny." My wife and hundreds of children were murdered by a barracuda. One of the parents yells at the children for playing in some old guy's yard. Quick question, what's he doing living right next to a school? Anyway, after the teacher arrives and crushes half his class to death, he takes the survivors on a field trip to the drop-off. You know, the place where Nemo's family was brutally murdered. During class, he sneaks off with some other fish to the edge of the reef, where out in the open ocean they see a boat, or as they call it, a butt.
Wow, that's a pretty big butt.
The kids compete to see who can swim the closest to the boat, but Nemo doesn't want to play because he's a coward. At that moment, Marlin shows up and yells at his disabled son for being disabled. The teacher then arrives like, "Hey, can you please, not yell slurs at one of my students?" "No, it's fine, I'm his father." "Sir, you can't call your son the R-word." While everyone is distracted, Nemo takes the opportunity to prove his independence by swimming all the way out to the butt. He gives it a tap, that's some sexual harassment, and then begins swimming back to his very angry father. But suddenly, from the depths of the ocean, a diver appears behind Nemo and shoves him in a bag. Well, at least it was only the one diver. I can't imagine if there were... "Mr. President, a second diver has hit the coral reef." No, come back. I think I blinked. Despite being blinded by the flashbang, Marlin chases after the boat, but is very quickly left in its dust. Or bubbles. After losing sight of its trail, he dives down to ask for help, eventually colliding with Dory, who claims to have seen the boat pass by and knows which way it went. So Marlin follows her into the deep blue, but very quickly discovers that she suffers from short-term memory loss. Quite unfortunate. Marlin tries to abandon her in the middle of nowhere, but the two are greeted by Bruce, the shark. He invites them to attend a party he's throwing, but it's actually an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. I've fallen for that one before. It's just these three sharks who have vowed to stop eating fish. Marlin is very freaked out by it all, but Dory is just super happy to be there. She takes to the stand to proudly announce, "I have never eaten a fish." Marlin then introduces himself to the group, like, "Hi, I'm Marlin, I'm a clownfish."
Clownfish? Really?
Why are they surprised by that? It's not a well-kept secret, just look at his skin. Wait, that's racist. Marlin then notices the scuba diver's mask dangling above them, since it was knocked into the water during their daring escape. Dory forgets the mask doesn't belong to her, so begins fighting Marlin for it, and eventually gets hit in the face, causing a nosebleed. The blood drifts into Bruce's nose and activates his shark neurons, so he chases the two of them through the ship. Dory casually drops the crazy law that she can read, but before she reads what's on the diver's mask, they get trapped in a torpedo tube. They launch the torpedo to escape, and it goes so far down Bruce's throat. What is that shark doing in his spare time? He accidentally throws the torpedo towards a naval mine, which detonates and causes a massive explosion. Meanwhile, Nemo wakes up in a fish tank and meets the local crackheads. Sure, they're weird and scary, but at least none of them are French.
Bonjour.
The tank is in a dentist's office, and all the fish love to watch the medical malpractice. They're even friends with a local bird who drops in to enjoy the show. They find out that Nemo is going to be a birthday present for the dentist's niece, who has a bad habit of Murder. I've seen fish suffer a worse fate. Nemo is a coward who doesn't want to be shaken to death, so tries to swim away but gets sucked into a tube. The other fish try to help him, but Gil, the other leader of the tank, is like, no, don't touch him, you have to get out by yourself.
But what if I can't?
I didn't think of that. Nemo manages to wriggle free, much to the delight of the other fish and the curiosity of Gil. Back with Marlin and Dory, they're sleeping. Wakey, wakey, lazy bones. The sub they were sleeping on slips off the cliff and almost crushes them, but Dory does accidentally drop the mask. Marlin tries to chase after it, but is too afraid of the dark. Dory, on the other hand, doesn't give a shit. She drags Marlin down into the depths until they can't see a thing.
Ah! Something's got me!
Don't put your hands there, Marlin. Eventually they see a light in the distance and go over to play with it, having no idea it belongs to this RGB LED looking ass boy. They swim away from the deep sea terror and eventually spot the mask. So Dory tries to read what it says while Marlin distracts their new friend. She manages to read the address on the back and they then use the mask to trap the big fish. Marlin asks her what she read, to which she responds,
P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney.
I remember!
Back in the tank, Nemo is... oh god, he's joining a cult. Gil proposes a plan to break everyone out the tank. A short tank redemption, if you will. An escape from Alcatraz. The bait escape. Dude, where's my carp? That one doesn't work. The plan is very simple. We break the filter so the tank gets dirty. We get it put into plastic bags while he cleans. We roll across the counter and out the window. We get hit by a car. Wait, what? Back with Marlin and Dory, they're trying to figure out just what the hell P. Diddy 42 Wallaby Way Sydney means when they run into a school of moonfish.
Hey, you like impressions? Just like in rehearsals, gentlemen. So what are we? Take a guess.
The fish direct them towards Sydney, saying they'll have to ride the East Australian current. They also tell Dory that when they meet a trench, no matter what, they have to go through it. About 3 seconds later, they arrive at a trench. Hey, you want to swim over this thing? I have literally no objections to that. Marlin takes them up over the trench into clear water where they can see the current, but Dory runs into a teeny tiny jellyfish who she wants to kidnap and adopt.
Stings, doesn't it?
Marlin rushes in to dropkick the child and then looks at Dory's wound, completely oblivious to the swarm of jellyfish airdropping onto them. They're surrounded by dangerous tentacles. They'll have to move very carefully. What the f***, Dory? That's not her being forgetful, she's just a moron. Marlin decides to exploit Dory's condition by challenging her to a jellyfish head bouncing race through the swarm, but he gets carried away and opens the DRS to charge out of the jellyfish. He celebrates his victory before realizing Dory hasn't made it out, so swims back in to rescue her. He finds her tangled in a load of tentacles, but can't find a clear path to freedom. But as Sun Tzu once said, ignore the pain. Do cocaine. So Marlin charges through the jellyfish tentacles, getting stung repeatedly but ignoring the pain until eventually he emerges and passes out. Back in the fish tank, they carry out their plan. Nemo swims into the filter, Gil throws him a pebble and is like,
okay, you see that blender to your right?
Yeah?
Yeah, stick your hand in it.
What? Yep, stick your hand in the blender. Nemo jams the pebble into the filter and begins to wriggle back through the tube, but the pebble doesn't hold and the filter begins to suck Nemo backwards into the blender. The other fish shove some plant down there to drag him out, but their prison break ultimately fails and almost kills a child. Meanwhile, out in the ocean, Marlin wakes up to find himself riding a turtle on the East Australian current. Dory is also fine, she's playing hide and seek with the turtle children. Seems like a poor game choice for someone with dementia, but I digress. The turtles are all really interested to hear Marlin's story, since obviously Dory wasn't able to tell it. So he tells them all about his journey so far, with the tale being relayed between different species all across the ocean, eventually reaching that one bird who's friends with the guys in the tank. He recognizes Nemo's name in the story, so flies off to tell him all about his dad's mission to rescue him.
What the?
He recounts the entire story of Marlin fighting sharks, jellyfish, and monsters of the deep on his way to Sydney. Hearing the story motivates Nemo to give the escape plan a second shot. He dives into the filter with a pebble, sticks his hand in the blender, and this time successfully breaks the filter. Back in the ocean, Marlin and Dory exit the current through a big swirly chute and come face to face with a giant curtain of fog. I sure do hope there isn't a boss battle through there. They get lost in the fog, so Dory suggests they ask the giant ominous shadow in the distance for directions. It turns out to be a whale, so Dory's like, oh perfect, I'll speak whale. But Dory, stop, that's so racist. The whale somehow sneaks up behind them and swallows them whole, leading to Marlin getting super upset, like, how am I supposed to save my son from inside a whale? Wait, we're in a whale? After a while, the whale flushes the water from his mouth and throws the two fish to the back of his throat where they hold on for dear life. They hear a loud echoing as the whale tries to talk to them, and Dory's like, I'm a head out. But Marlin catches her and stops her from diving into the whale's stomach.
Now, Marlin,
It's fine, he says this is our stop. But how can you be sure? We don't know what this whale wants. Wait, we're in a whale? Marlin decides to trust Dory and lets the two of them fall down the whale's throat, where at the very bottom they're blasted upwards and out the blowhole. They land right in Sydney, near the iconic Sydney Harbour, the legendary Sydney Opera House, and of course the timeless Sydney Sweeney. Meanwhile, the tank mission is a great success, with the broken filter causing the water to get all grimy and disgusting. This must be what it's like to live in Birmingham. But yeah, they all go to sleep that night, super excited to be put into plastic baggies the next day while the tank is cleaned. And the next morning, what the f***, the tank is clean. Overnight, the dentist installed the Aquascum 2003, a tank cleaning robot from the future that scans the water every 5 minutes to ensure optimal cleanliness.
The age of filthy water is over. No more swimming in your own piss. Follow me, and you'll never again be flushed down the toilets. Bubble up!
The excitement of a new tank overlord allows the dentist to sneakily grab Nemo and place him in an inescapable prison, ready to be gifted to his demon of a niece. Meanwhile, out in the harbour, Marlin and Dory are eaten by a pelican. Oh, I lied. Marlin pulls all of his strength to choke out the bird. Not in a sex way, he's killing him. The bird, who's friends with Nemo, notices his colleague dying and helps him cough up the fish, who flop away towards the water like, where's my f***ing son? Of course, the bird knows Nemo and was expecting his dad to turn up eventually, so he takes them to the dentist, where, he's about to hand over Nemo. Okay, calm down, crackhead. Nemo pretends to have gone belly up, in the hopes he'll be flushed down the toilet into the ocean, but the dentist wants to put him in the bin. Sir, you can't recycle that. At that moment, Marlin arrives and forces the bird inside to throw hands with the dentist, who drops Nemo onto a table, and Marlin lays eyes on what he thinks is his dead son. The bird gets thrown out the window, and Gil uses a volcano decoration thing to launch himself out the tank and onto the demon child's head. She grabbed Nemo the second she was unsupervised and began shaking the shit out of him. But once Gil lands on her head and tries to square up, she drops Nemo's bag, which explodes, and Gil flops onto the tray next to him. He uses some Finjitsu move to launch Nemo into the sink before the dentist returns him to the tank. Bloody hell, that was chaotic. Back outside, the bird doesn't eat Marlin and Dory like an idiot, and instead returns them to the sea. Marlin tells Dory they should go their separate ways, but she's like, no, I like spending time with you. Look, I may have a crippling case of dementia, but I have no idea what I was about to say. But Marlin just swims off, leaving her alone. Oh well, plenty more fish in the sea. Hey. Nearby, Nemo pops out of the poop tank after going through the water treatment plant. He swims around trying to find his dad and eventually bumps into Dory, who is having a complete crash out, with no idea what's going on and no memory of anything.
Damn it! Why can't you remember?
But after reading the word Sydney on a pipe, everything comes rushing back. She remembers Marlin and his hunt for Nemo, and now she's found Nemo, so now they must hunt for Marlin. They instantly find him because the ocean is tiny, but their reunion is cut short by a giant fishing net that captures a load of random fish. And Dory. Nemo has only known this schizo lady for a few minutes now, but is prepared to risk his life to save her. He tells his dad they need to make all the fish swim down before swimming into the net to spread the word. The strength of all the fish is enough to fight the fishing boat's winch, with the line snapping and freeing everyone. Nemo is caught in the commotion and knocked to the ground, but he's just being a pussy, there's nothing wrong with him. They head back home to the reef, with Marlin now being way more relaxed parenting Nemo, and Dory rejoining her AA meetings with the sharks to battle her addiction. And the movie ends. Great movie. I enjoyed the part where your mother made a cameo, and my favourite character was easily Sheldon, because bazinga. But yeah, if you enjoyed this recap, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next one. Thank you ever so much for watching.